Hey everybody, welcome to Deep Fat Fried. Dun, 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 dun. It's Deep Fat Fried. Three very stoned guys. It's Deep Fat Fried. The best show in your life. It's Deep Fat Fried. Close your fucking thighs. It's Deep Fat Fried. Time to go on an anal poop shoot ride. Dun, 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 dun.
We promised we'd bring the theme song back, and there you go.
There it is. That's the new theme song, guys. I just wrote it.
Beautiful.
It actually wasn't bad in places. I like the groove of it. It sounds like disco, kind of like grindhouse.
No, I mean, I think you got something there for sure.
So yeah, man. I know that people thought we would never do it, but we're going to talk about Hitler tonight. Here he is when he was young.
Yeah, this is a young Hitler back when he was a little
cowboy.
young
Herman Hitler.
Yeah, that's right.
If people don't realize Hitler, I mean, there was family. Well, I mean, he was born in Austria. I mean, they really had appreciation for the American spirit and cowboys and stuff.
Well, that's actually an Austrian stick picker hat. So his family's collected sticks from the forest. So it looks very much like a cowboy hat, but it is called an Austrian stick picker.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Wow. Yeah.
I do know they had an appreciation for the American West as well.
They did. And so did Hitler. He liked Western films above all.
Yeah. I think actually even some John Ford films. Like, there was a lot. I mean, but obviously even go back to like the silent era.
There was a lot of silent cowboy films, and this little Hitler here, he was watching them all. Just kidding. You've been the victim of another Paul Vigo ruse.
Oh, wow.
It's not Hitler. Come on. Hitler didn't wear a fucking, nobody picks sticks for a living. Are you kidding me?
What, are you fucking stupid?
This is probably, I would say, one of the least appreciated, certainly one of the most controversial and influential presidents in American history. A guy we reference quite a bit when we're talking about our politics, but have never learned anything about. This is Lyndon Baines Johnson, better known in the political sphere and the world over as good old LBJ.
LBJ, boy.
LBJ.
A legendary guy, dude. Getting the research for this together. Amelia did most of it. She did all of it, actually. But like looking through this fucking research was fucking amazing. This dude's life is almost unbelievable.
You know, we used to have some pretty epic fucking presidents, now and then.
We do.
Well, this is the sad part of this episode that I want you to keep in mind. I want you to, all throughout this, good, bad, ugly, or otherwise, compare the life and political career of Lyndon Baines Johnson to what we've got on the docket, right, for 2024. Look at the standards for politicians and how they've lowered to be almost completely without expectation. Now it's fucking absurd. So, as I said, his name LBJ stands for Lyndon Baines Johnson. He was born on August 27th, 1908. So, man, old fucking guy. I knew he was old. 1908. You know what state he was from there, Scotty?
Oh, boy, he's from Texas.
Oh, of course. And you don't mix with whatever. You know what they say.
You don't mess with Texas.
You don't mix with the tests.
You don't text with the mix.
Thank goodness I don't talk for a living.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
Dodge the bullet on that one.
A bit of a mush mouth over there on that Paul's ego. He was born near the Central Texas community of Johnson City. Interesting. His name's Johnson, born in Johnson City, Texas, which was named for his relatives.
That does not surprise me, dude. Yeah, I was assuming there was a connection.
Yep. He was the oldest of 5 children. Lyndon B. Johnson was exposed to politics early as a child. His father, Sam Ely Johnson Jr., was a member of the Texas House of Representatives, served as an avid populist, fighting against corrupt corporate Democrats openly bribed by business interests. This is a good example of the interplay of working class interests back in the day in the Republican and Democratic Party. It wasn't always so back in the day, the way it is now, right?
I hate to interrupt, but I think you have your Steam notifications on because I saw one.
Oh, do I? My bad. I'm sorry.
I still want people. Well, I know
don't
you
have
don't
anything to
want
hide,
people.
but it's annoying as fuck. So let me take
Well, I just
care
don't
of
want people
that.
to see, your stuff popping up and have
Yeah,
people.
I don't have
People
anything.
might not want it to get doxxed or whatever. You know.
Sure. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Let me just get out. I didn't know that was happening. My bad.
It's all good, dude. That's why I let you know before. I don't want because I don't want people popping up like, oh shit.
Cool. All right. I got that. Hold on. I don't know why Spotify is fucking open either. Close that bitch. Okay. We're back.
We're back.
Look at that. Entire screen, share the audio, the screen. Thank you very much. Okay, we're back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
His dad was a member of the Texas House of Representatives, actually a pretty based politician. If you look into him, I didn't pull much about him here. Was a Republican, but very much his career was kind of highlighted by trying desperately and sometimes succeeding to fight against corrupt Democratic influence, which were the Democrats at that time in that area were fucking, they were
the conservatives. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is prior to, the party switch isn't exactly like delineated by a specific date, but it's something that happened a little bit later with the Southern strategy and stuff. So,
well, that's why you always hear that the Democrats are the party of slavery.
You've heard the term blue dog Democrats. Those are Democrats that are just basically dinos. They're Democrats, but they're Republicans in every other way.
Correct.
Or at least most other ways. Usually, though, the intersection there is labor. Blue dog Democrats are typically pretty based on workers' rights. Typically, I said.
Sure.
Let's see. Among the elder Johnson's causes in the Texas, was in the Texas legislature, were pushing for an 8-hour workday for railroad workers, despite going into the legislature in thousands of dollars of debt. Lyndon B. Johnson's father never took bribes like his peers, or at least he was never caught taking one, which left the family struggling to make ends meet. The family's wealth had been sucked up in bad gambles on the cotton market and poor real estate dealings. Uh-oh. What was once rich is now poor. At the tail of his political career, LBJ's father sold nearly everything he owned and gambled on cotton again, went into massive debt. A combination of poor weather and cratering of the cost of cotton as production got easier and expanded meant that the Johnson family literally went from riches to rags.
Ooh.
So pretty fucking sad,
Yeah, but we know he ends up president. So
didn't know how to diversify his investments. He's like, you know what? All on cotton. It's all like, drought. You lose everything.
Yep. In 1913, the Johnsons abandoned their family farm, moved to nearby Johnson City. The family house, while comfortable by the standards of the rural South at the time, had neither electricity nor indoor plumbing. Lyndon, like his father, wanted more for his future. In fact, when he was 12, he told his classmates, someday I'm going to be president of the United States.
And they all laughed at him.
They
but
probably
then
did.
he was.
You ain't going to be no damn president. You can't tie your damn shoe, boy.
Yep. Later in his life, Johnson would remember, when I was 14 years old, I decided I was not going to be the victim of a system which would allow the price of a commodity like cotton to drop from 40 cents to 6 cents and destroy the homes of people like my own family. So definitely going from riches to rags had a profound effect on his politics.
Well, I kind of, me and Scotty both, can kind of relate to this.
We can definitely relate
to
that.
I didn't think of it that way, but that's true.
Because, we had a similar, around the same time.
It wasn't commodities. It was our dad just didn't.
Well, yeah, it wasn't. It was just our dad deciding
refused to pay taxes.
Too good to pay taxes or whatever. But,
similar outcome.
Yeah, the outcome was still riches to
rags.
Well,
what was that like? Like, can you guys tell me how it felt to have, like, basically money? Because you guys tell me some wild stories about, you'd be like, Dad, we want to get pizza. Can we have some money? And he'd give you like $400.
Yeah, he just
never thinking about $100.
Yeah, you don't think about it. You don't think about any resource.
Paul, the weird thing about money is that the more money someone has, the more money is not even like, it was never considered. So anything we wanted to do was never like, can we afford to, like, I'm sure you grew up because, your family was like, you wanted to do something. Your parents like, I don't know if we can afford that,
I mean,
Paul.
but similar story for me. We did a lot of stuff when I was young, and then the economy crashed in the 80s, and then the fucking divorce and bankruptcy and all that shit. And I went from kind of, but I wouldn't say like to anywhere near the extent you guys.
But
like you said, my parents still worried about money. We couldn't do everything. I didn't get shit all the time.
yeah,
Like,
my dad basically didn't say the word no.
It sucks because
You didn't have to.
I mean, look, I mean, it sucks in exactly the way you think it sucks because it's like you go from being able to have anything you want.
Well, how did you switch it on though? Because you showed me the shitbox fucking fucking office building that you rented to do your early fucking work in.
Yeah,
it was right near I think it was a McDonald's or something.
It
That's why
was,
you,
yeah.
Yeah,
It was right by the McDonald's.
$200 office. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys showed me that building, and it really underscored for me. You guys also showed me the mansion that your dad owned in Boshin.
Yeah.
And it underscored for me, like, that is a drop, bro. How do you go from that to that? What was how did you learn? Was it just necessity?
You just have to. There's just no.
I mean, yeah, there's no choice. I mean,
the economic reality just
either adjust or die. You know, because
like, here's the thing: most people in you guys' positions wouldn't have the gumption to be like, fuck, we got to make money. Let's start our own thing on YouTube. They would be like, let me go get a job at fucking IHOP. I'll go get a job at a factory.
Well, you know, I mean, one thing our dad definitely instilled in us was never work for somebody else. So
cool.
Yeah, he's like, you'll never prosper.
I mean, he said, you know, I mean, you could do it in like an interim fucking sense, but like ultimately your goal in life should be to make your own money for yourself.
Anytime our dad worked for somebody else, it was basically while he was setting up his next business. Let's put it like that. He never was a person, no matter what business he was in, if it was real estate or finance or what the fuck it was. He never had an eye towards, oh, I'm just going to work for this person forever. Like he just never accepted that.
Yeah, he never wanted anyone else to be his boss. And it wasn't just like an ego thing. It's like a practical thing because he realized that if you're working for someone else, you're working to make them rich, not to make you rich.
Well, I'm slowly but surely codifying that in my mind, reading the 48 Laws of Power. But
yeah, my dad would have loved that book if he wasn't really much of a reader, but I think that he might have made an exception for that.
Dude, he would have read. TJ, what would have happened is he would have read that book and been like, "This book is about someone like me."
I feel like so far I'm about halfway through the laws. I'm about on 24 or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
and so far I feel like it's basically like Machiavelli's The Prince, but for dummies.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what I got out of that book. I got a lot of really interesting anecdotes out of it.
Yes,
because it's a tremendous collection of great fucking anecdotes. I don't know
anecdotes. Yeah,
I don't really know how much practical use I've gotten out of it in life. Like I haven't memorized the laws or like really internalized them much, but I
think those books make you think, though. I think those kind of books are like, it makes you at least think about the different dynamics and relationships.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen people criticize it as like, oh, it's sociopathic. It's like, you can go read a book on empathy afterwards, you know, like you don't have to just read one book and make it your fucking Bible, you know.
It's not about how to make friends and influence people. It's about how to succeed in a business environment that's basically eat or die.
Although I would say How to Win Friends and Influence People is also kind of a sociopathic book if you really read it.
Yeah, no, I could see that. It kind of is. You're right. It's definitely got a bent of like, people are your puppets to manipulate. Here's how to make them love you.
The basic tenet of that book is basically just no one wants to hear you talk. People want to be listened to. So really just the most charismatic thing you can do is be interested in when other people are blabbering, or at least have a good fucking convincing look of faking it, you know?
Yeah.
True.
So back to LBJ here. He spent about 3 years in a series of odd jobs before enrolling in Southwest Texas State Teachers College in San Marcos. Okay. While he was pursuing his studies there in 1928 or 29, he took a teaching job at a predominantly Mexican-American school in Cotula, Texas, earning a reputation for his dedication, high standards, and his encouragement of the students. So apparently he was like a good... Apparently he was like a good guy to have.
Well, I mean, you know, it makes sense. I mean, he's obviously someone who rises to the rank of president. You think, you know, they usually have leadership qualities, present presidents notwithstanding, I guess.
I'm just learning. My browser updated, and this is new. I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
That's
'cause
kind of
it'll let
cool.
me,
I
like,
was wondering what the hell was going on there.
it just lets me kind of see a preview of them and where I am in the stack. So that's kind of nice.
That is cool.
In 1930, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, even though I think like our modern presidents don't really seem all that inspiring in terms of leadership qualities, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Although Trump, I guess, it definitely has at least the ability to understand mass psychology. But
Sure.
I mean, I don't think Trump or Biden would be good teachers. But,
No, that's a different type of person. Having worked with teachers, and at one time I aspired to be one.
Mhm.
I don't think I would make as good a one as I thought I might, but maybe I would. I did do teaching as part of my job there too, as well. So it takes a certain type of person to be a good teacher, especially of kids, especially of ESL kids.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a lot of patience
and
you
dedication.
have to have you really have to be able to deal with a lot of setbacks, and your time is basically just always a commodity and stuff in that job. Although maybe less so back then because class sizes were a little smaller.
Yeah, true.
But I don't know. Maybe not for the Mexican kids.
Yeah, I mean, not depending on the region, not for any kids.
Yeah.
In 1930, he participated in the congressional campaign of Democrat Richard Clyburn, son of the owner of King Ranch, the largest ranch in the continental United States, and moved to Washington, D.C. after Clyburn's election to work as his legislative assistant. Energetic and capable, Johnson began to meet influential people and learn about the national political process. Johnson's work ethic was astounding. He pored over every detail of congressional protocol. No mail from Clyburn's constituents ever went unanswered. He was, in short, a model assistant. His drive, ambition, and competence made him stand out among the young people in Washington at that time.
Well, he's a model assistant because, I mean, you heard right from the fucking word go that his ambition is he wants to be president of the United States.
Right.
So I mean, he's taking, I mean, like, he's not there to just be a congressional aide. If he was just there to be a congressional aide, he probably would have been a middling one. But he's there to become president of the United States.
So he's going to be
to rise as high.
He's going to be a dude. He's going to be a dude that when you look at him being a congressional aide, the first thought that hits your mind is, why is this guy fucking just why is this guy not a congressperson? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Seriously.
Whatever job he's in, he's going to want to be the best and the shiniest and stand out and rise through the ranks, because obviously he's got, like you said, tremendous ambition. Which I would say, I mean, I keep doing what you told me to do, which is kind of compare this guy to what we have now.
Yeah.
And I will say Trump's got ambition.
Does he have this kind of a work ethic, though?
No, not at all. I was about to say Trump's ambition is far lazier.
Because ambition is only as useful
Trump never
as the work ethic that backs it, to me.
I mean, it depends. I mean, there's other ways of utilizing ambition. I think Trump,
like Brutus utilized the ambition to stab Caesar in the back and usurp power.
Trump's a delegator, dude. Trump wants people to do all that shit for him.
Well, I mean, the key difference I think between Trump and this guy, other than just being obviously not the same kind of person, is I mean, Trump never had to claw his way up from
way more
rags to riches. Right. I mean, if Trump's family had lost all its money when he was 12, maybe Trump would be a much more.
I think he'd be a different guy, though.
Yeah, I mean, he'd definitely be a different guy. Would he be a guy that clawed his way back up, or would he be a guy that takes the job at Denny's because he can't? He realizes he can't.
Likewise, if LBJ here's dad had been a cotton genius and not a cotton retard, he might have been a different person as a result of that. In fact, he almost certainly would have been.
Oh,
if he had shorted those commodities and said, "It's like, you know what? Well, the price is going to go down. I'm going to fucking sell."
When you're a rich kid, you're on a totally different trajectory in life than everybody else around you, and it's just obvious. Even as a kid, you know that,
of course.
And then when you realize you're not rich anymore, oh shit! Now if I want any sort of trajectory other than the standard one, I'm gonna have to fucking fight for it. So, which I think LBJ did. I like to think that I've tried to do that as well. Probably not anywhere near to the extent of him, but
No, but you've succeeded in your own arena at doing that for sure. Nobody can take that from you.
Yep.
When he returned to Texas in 1934 just to visit his family, he met a 21-year-old woman named Claudia Alta Taylor, a recent University of Texas graduate, pictured here, member of the wealthy East Texas family. They married 3 months later. At the age of 27, he was appointed head of the Texas National Youth Administration, which was a New Deal program by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was Johnson's political hero, by the way.
Yeah, and mine too, by the way. I mean, not saying he's flawless, because obviously,
he wasn't.
Internment camps. And,
he did one of the most egregious mistakes that America has.
Right. Ever. That's probably the most flagrant violation of civil liberties in this country, or
since slavery, at least.
Right. But it was hideous. But in so many other regards, I love so many of the things that he did. So did the country, because he was elected 4 times.
So this Texas National Youth Administration was a New Deal program that helped young people find jobs or volunteer work during the Great Depression. And it was kept going for a long time because the funding wasn't cut for a long time on it. Okay, let's see what we got next. I don't think this is correct, man. See, I think I'm having problems here. Hold on.
Yeah, LBJ aged quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps skipping to that, but okay.
He's got a little bit older.
Yeah. I think this was, okay. Well. So anyway, when James Buchanan, the congressman in his home district, died. Oh, hold on. Now I know where I'm supposed to be. I just got kind of lost. My apologies.
It seems like your entire, browser system has changed. So
I'm learning it. It's the same browser. They just updated everything.
Right. They changed the way it works. So whatever.
So when James Buchanan, the congressman in his home district in 1937, died, Johnson quickly moved to grab that job, of course. He tapped his wife's inheritance, aligned himself with Roosevelt's sweeping social policy, and won election in Texas' 10th district. He was 28 years old. So
this is when you describe this guy's rise to power, this is a guy playing chess for sure.
100%. He knows where he's going, and he's not going to let anybody stand in the way.
Every decision he makes, he's positioning himself to rise through the ranks. I'm sure that he had genuine affinity for that girl, but obviously the fact that she came from a rich and, prosperous family, was a very important thing.
Of course.
Just making sure he's shining, making sure he's positioned just right. He sees this FDR sweeping social movement. He immediately gets in on that.
Yes.
And,
by the late 30s, he was winning federal housing projects and dams for his district. He managed to bring electrical power to the lonely Texas Hill County of his youth, something he claimed for the rest of his days as his proudest political achievement. He interrupted his legislative duties for 6 months in 1941 and 42 to serve as a lieutenant commander in the Navy, thereby becoming the first member of Congress to serve in active duty in World War II. His wife managed his office while he was away. While on an observation mission over New Guinea, Johnson's plane survived an attack by Japanese fighters, and General Douglas MacArthur awarded Johnson the Silver Star for gallantry. He proudly wore the decoration on his lapel for the rest of his life. So you'll see pictures of him on and off, I think, throughout this, wearing that decoration when he's dressed up. He was very protective of it, from what I read. And anybody that gainsayed his right to wear it on his chest, he would shout them down immediately.
Well, yeah.
So, he was known as a very, very gregarious guy, but also a very forceful dude.
Yeah.
There is one similarity between him and Biden. They both were elected to office around the same age. Biden was elected a U.S. senator. So
Biden was pretty young when he was elected.
He was 29 years old. So
super young guy. Yeah.
Right. That's crazy to be elected to Senate at 29.
Biden never served in the military, though?
I don't think so, but he, obviously his kid did.
Sure.
So
just wondering. I'm not nothing good or bad about it. Just I'm wondering how deep the parallels might go.
I don't believe he did do any military service. Let me check on that.
I'm pretty sure he didn't. He might have done like a fucking Coast Guard or bid or something, but I don't think he did active duty anything.
I don't believe he did, but let me see. No, he never served in the military. During the Vietnam War era, Biden received 5 student draft deferments while he was in college and law school.
I see. So, I thought before we got too deeply into the politics, he's definitely taking off now. So he's, he's a war hero. He's a member of Congress. The first member of Congress to serve in active duty in World War II. That gives you clout, man. World War II was like a triumph for the United States. At the very least, it was celebrated as such.
I mean, it was a time of great economic expansion. It was really the emergence of America as a superpower on the national.
It was really
the stage.
It was the beginning of like a very short period in time where the American dream existed, so long as you were white.
Yeah, I mean that is a big caveat.
Yeah. Warning: Black people may have a different experience. Before we get too deeply into that political career, though, I think we should look at his wife, Lady Bird. Lady Bird Johnson, a legend in and of herself, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So on November 17, 1934, Johnson married Claudia Alta Lady Bird Taylor from Karnak, Texas. Karnak, by the way, sounds like a place that Conan would conquer.
Yeah, it does.
Not a Texas town, but whatever.
Let's go to Karnak.
The people of Karnak have grown fat and weak. I will reap their souls with my sword. Yeah. Anyway, the first two met after he attended, but did not graduate from Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C. for several months. During their first date, Johnson asked her to marry him. Many dates later, after asking every date, she finally relented. Lady Bird Johnson, soft-spoken, well-educated woman from an affluent family, became a critical part of Johnson's political success. Lady Bird's father was the opposite of LBJ's father. His father was successful everywhere where LBJ's father was a horrible gambler. His father had money when he was born, and he made it flourish and doubled it and tripled it up, where, LBJ's father lost it all. Her father owned and successfully operated a farm with 15,000 acres of cotton. So literally what I said earlier, a cotton genius, not a cotton retard.
Yeah, unfortunately. But hey, that's how it goes.
He owned 2 giant general stores as well, which printed money. Her mother unfortunately died from a miscarriage when Lady Bird was a kid. That left her to be raised by her aunt and receive an inheritance. 10,000 of that went to bankroll her husband's campaign for House, which that was in 1930. When was that? 37. So I didn't do the numbers. Can you do that real quick? What was $10,000 in 1937 money? Because I think it's like 300 grand, something like that.
No, it's gonna be more than that.
You think it's way more than that?
Oh yeah, inflation calculator.
All right, I guess Scotty's doing it.
She said 1938.
1937, $10,000.
Okay, so $10,000. All right, let's put that number in. If it's gonna let me. Okay, it's all the way in the other end. It's the consumer price. What are you doing? God, the site's looks like it's stuck in 1990. All right, so 10,000 as of January 2024. Actually, no, we want 1936. You said 1936, right?
1937, but it doesn't matter.
All right, 1937, and as of May 2024, that would be. Actually, no, Paul, you were closer, right? $222,000.
So no small peanuts, right?
No. Oh my God, no, dude! $10,000 back in the day was a ton of money.
Yeah,
absolutely.
More money than most people ever saw.
So in January to February 1943, during World War II, Lady Bird Johnson spent $17,500 of her inheritance to purchase KTBC, an Austin radio station. While she had the money, her husband had the political power connections to seriously grease the wheels to both ensure her bid for the station, and to make it highly successful to the point where they both became millionaires. The year Lady Bird Johnson purchased KTBC, the Federal Communications Commission, which reviewed all broadcast license transfers, was close to being abolished. Lyndon Johnson used his political influence in both Congress and at the White House to prevent that from happening. Johnson socialized with the FCC commissioner, a guy named Clifford Durr.
Durr.
It's literally D-U-R-R.
Clifford
Durr. I'm Clifford Durr.
That does sound like the kind of motherfucker who should be in charge of the FCC.
Yeah, for sure. The guy that's morally in charge of saying what you can say on the airwaves, right? Yeah, Clifford Durr. Although Durr says Johnson never mentioned Lady Bird's application for KTBC's license, Lady Bird, however, directly approached Durr about the station, and Lyndon phoned James Barr of the FCC's Standard Broadcast Division. He wanted to get a radio station, and what I remember is he wouldn't take no for an answer.
He didn't need to. He didn't need to approach the guy. Everyone, you don't think they were? Everyone else he was talking to was talking that guy's ear off. So even if that's true, technically, like, oh yeah, in official capacity, he never approached him. It's like everyone else. He's got lawyers. He's got people working for him. He's got his wife, who's from a well-connected family that probably donates a lot of money. I mean, come on.
Right. Oh man, this new thing is something else again. Let's see. Yeah, we don't want that yet, for sure. Okay, yeah. I think oh, you know what? Nope, that's not it either. Hold on, guys. Sorry about this. Fuck. Like, I thought I had this down earlier, but apparently I don't. What the fuck is going on? All right, fuck this.
Control tab.
Yep, we're gonna just see what the fuck is happening here. All right, that's him and Lady Bird. I already showed that. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna leave it like this for a minute until I get this all figured out, so I'm not fucking monkey fucking a coconut through the rest of this. Once Lady Bird completed that purchase of KTBC, the 5 years of delays and red tape, or delays and unfavorable rulings, more likely from the FCC, that had stymied the previous owners, suddenly just disappeared. And the slowness was replaced by almost uncanny speed. So like bureaucracy usually around that type of shit is slow, but for some reason, I'm sure due in no part to her husband's influence, for her it was like somebody rolled out the red carpet. You know someone is fucking powerful, and someone understands the system when they can accomplish something like that quickly. When you can cut red tape, because bureaucracy is a fucking nightmare.
It is.
And one of the things I actually it's not because he's super powerful or anything, but one of the things I always liked about Scotty was that if there's any fucking bureaucratic red tape between you and something happening, the Scotty is like a fucking bloodhound figuring out the fucking the most expedient way through that shit. Yeah, Scotty is. That's why I'd always put him on that shit. And he's lazy, so you got to fucking beat him with a stick every now and then. But
that is true.
But if you get him on the fucking trail, though, he's gonna get to the bottom of that shit. Yeah, I mean, like he'll fucking do in like a couple weeks what would take most people fucking months because of all the fucking bullshit that they fucking.
Well, that's because I actively I see the government and these things as adversarial, so like them getting one over on me is unacceptable to me in any way.
Yeah, it becomes Scotty versus the fucking powers that be, I guess.
Well, dude, because a lot of rules are stupid, and the government doesn't even follow their own rules. So it's like when you actually challenge them on the things they say, they usually have nothing to back it up. It's bullshit. Right.
Fucking government.
When Lyndon visited William S. Paley, president of CBS Radio, and asked if KTBC could become an affiliate with CBS and carry its lucrative programming, he didn't have to spell out why the request should be granted. The radio networks feared the regulators in Washington, as well as congressional members who regulated the regulators.
So wait, let me get this straight. This is fucking brilliant, dude.
Yeah.
Because this guy, he goes to the FTC guy's like, man, the thing about getting rid of the FTC, but I can fucking make sure that doesn't happen if you give my wife this radio station. And then he goes to the fucking CBS. He's like, hey man, you know, I'm in tight with that FTC, man, and it looks like they ain't going nowhere. So
Sure
yeah,
would
you
be
might
good
want
if
to.
they were looking over your shoulder all the time.
I could probably fucking get them to, you know, look the other way on some shit you do every now and again if, you know,
Yep.
cut me a little favor here.
He didn't stop there either, TJ. Johnson
Of course
proceeded.
not. He didn't stop till he was in the fucking White
Well,
House.
yeah, but I mean, on this topic,
Okay, got it.
on the radio station alone, he wasn't done. Johnson proceeded to systematically shake down powerful companies, forcing them to advertise on the station. Local businesses that wanted army camps to remain located in Austin knew one way to secure Lyndon's help with that was to advertise on KTBC.
Oh, that's fucking brilliant, dude. So
Yeah.
he's a politician. He owns a radio station, and you can just basically legally bribe him just by buying ads on his fucking radio station.
Yep.
Beautiful.
LBJ was ultra active in recruiting staff and running the operation of the radio station. And by 1948, Caro writes, he was telling his friends he was a millionaire. The Johnsons earned thousands from their radio station, but millions from their TV stations. The commission allocated one commercial station to Austin in the early 1950s, and the Johnsons were the only people allowed to apply for it.
Do you see this now? It's like, you know, a great issue that's, I mean, it has nothing to do with it, but the way the government regulates, it's like vapes.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like only the big multi-billion-dollar companies can even possibly meet the criteria that, like, because Paul, the company used to buy for, like, because Taylor still vapes.
Shut down. They're out of
the UK now. They had to move to the UK.
That's fucking
Mount Baker or whatever it was called. Yeah, they're in the UK now. Like, and all these shops, the FDA is about to start cracking on all these places around the country that are selling the flavored vapes. Like, they're gonna put all those fuckers out of business. So then the big companies can swoop in. And it's like, oh, we have the vape flavors, but only we're allowed to make them now. So it's just they're basically doing what Lyndon Johnson did. Get the monopoly on the market. He's the only one that possibly qualifies. Now, I guarantee you in the government process, when that was all done, it was probably open to the public, but no one else met any of the criteria. They made the criteria impossible to meet unless you're this guy.
Well, FCC official Alan Ray wrote when he was asked about why there was only one applicant allowed, he said at the time, quote, filing a competing application would have been a complete waste of money. Unquote.
Exactly right. Yeah. So you could do it, but no, you weren't getting it.
Right.
You're not going to get it.
Another quote from this FCC official.
It's like me trying to win a fucking race against like Usain Bolt or something. It's fucking stupid.
Right.
You can try it, but you know, you can make an ass of yourself, but that's all you can do.
Another quote from this guy. Whenever there was a business matter to be discussed between CBS and the LBJ stations, Johnson would summon the appropriate CBS personnel to the White House to discuss it. So, I mean, talk about having leverage over the entirety of a fucking business market.
Now, you want to discuss with me? How great you are, sir.
Although his marriage to Lady Bird helped massively to lift him out of poverty, LBJ gave her little thanks. In fact, he was a serial cheater, and his infidelity was one of those open secrets in Washington and surely known by Lady Bird.
Yeah, well, I mean, the dude was like notorious fucking poon hound and shit.
Yeah. LBJ maintained his on and off relationship with one of Lady's former classmates, Alice Glass, between 1939 and the early years of his presidency. It was doubly risky for him because she was also romantically involved with one of his big donors. According to LBJ biographer Robert Caro, she eventually broke up with him because of her opposition to the Vietnam War. It seems pretty clear that Lady Bird knew about Glass and the other women he had slept with. When Lady Bird died in 2007, The Guardian noted in her obituary, Lyndon Johnson was so casual in his affairs with Alice Glass and his congressional colleague Helen Gagan Douglas that Lady Bird was openly humiliated. So that was in her obituary. This isn't surprising considering that LBJ was known for exposing his genitals, which he called jumbo.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah,
talking about this. I don't remember what the episode was, but we got onto this fucking tangent somehow.
Yeah, we did. We were talking about Johnson's big dick. It was like a power move for him. He would just like
it might have been the Nixon episode we did.
Yeah, I think it was actually. He would whip his big old fat dick out and just like be like, "What do you think of that?" And they'd be like, they forced them to say that's huge, and then he'd put it away and say, "God damn right it is," and then he'd start talking like, "Let's talk business." So,
what do you think of that?
Yeah,
Turkey, what do you think about this fucking cock?
You're pretty big, boy.
Wow,
wow. Fucking scary, actually.
Yeah,
I'm pretty emasculated right now, so that was the tactic, right?
I feel like transitioning to a woman for the first time in my life, sir, because I'll never even come. I thought I had a cock, but I don't. In addition to glass,
your could be a Pez dispenser for my cock. You just put a bunch of little cocks in there and just pull back the head. My cock comes out. Yeah.
Does your cock taste like cherry medicine?
Sir, I believe your cock has its own cock. And even that cock is bigger than mine. Holy shit. Wow.
Sad, TJ.
Oh my god, dude!
What's the zip code on that thing, man?
Jumbo, bro.
Motherfucker gets a boner, measures on the Richter scale. It's crazy.
So in addition to all his sleeping around, apparently he didn't like rapping, that rascal. He impregnated a woman named Madeline Duncan Brown, who he started a relationship with in 1948.
Well, shit, his dick is so big, he just comes right in the womb. It doesn't even have to fucking make a trip.
Right. LBJ would support Brown heavily financially under the table, in addition to claiming that a son was born out of that relationship. Brown also accused Johnson to be part of a conspiracy to assassinate President John F. Kennedy. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Although her son's attempt at making $10 million from the Johnson estate may have influenced those remarks.
Yeah, that might have.
When someone made a comment about JFK's extramarital affairs, Johnson would angrily dismiss the remark, often saying that he, meaning Johnson, had more women by accident than JFK ever seduced deliberately.
He took it as like a challenge, dude. He's like, fuck that. I fuck more bitches than he ever. I've forgotten more women than JFK could ever get in his life.
Johnson would also like kind of humiliate Lady Bird in public. He would like openly complain to her at parties about how unsatisfied he was with her dress. And Lady reluctantly did more to emulate her husband's mistresses and buy fashionable dresses that they would wear and wear makeup like they would wear.
This is just nagging bullshit. This is just a control mechanism.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I think we might have a narcissist here, boys.
Oh, I mean,
Suffice it to say, yes.
Ambitious, social climber, fucking I think.
He's the fucking.
So there's something he's definitely got in common with Trump there.
Oh, for sure.
I'm trying to find data on just how big his cock was, but everyone just it was big, it was huge, it was gigantic. It's like, yeah, but I want to know.
It's all hearsay.
Yeah.
Nobody. He didn't let anybody fucking measure that motherfucker. The measurement was in the seeing.
Yeah, but I just
probably
want
the feeling of it as well. If you're taking that fucking,
he was slinging dick all over town. He was showing it off. I mean, somebody's got to fucking know something.
I looked. I wanted to give you guys the stats, and I didn't find anything. I found speculation. 9 inches flaccid is what I've heard. That's the one that I've heard people say, but there's nothing backing that because people at this time didn't talk about length of cock.
Yeah.
If they did, it was quietly in their parlors, not openly in the public square. So I don't know, man. You can find something, TJ, but I wouldn't look too hard because I looked, bro. I wanted that stat.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've done my due diligence and tried to figure out the answer, but
I mean, it was big enough to impress everybody he showed it to, basically. I don't know what that would take back in them days, but I'm thinking it was probably around 9 or 10 inches of dick. Just bloop, bloop. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. Based on the fucking way he fucking slung it around, I mean, it had to be fucking pretty ginormous, man.
Flaccid too, because he's not
Yeah,
like
I mean,
boned up and pulling it out of it. It wasn't a sexual thing, it was a dominance thing.
Right. So there's, I mean, this isn't some fucking like, ultra grower or something.
No,
where it's
this
like,
is a dude that just had a big bunch of flaccid cock. So I have to think, to impress somebody to the point that they wouldn't even be able to compete, probably got to be over 6 or 7 inches by
I mean, it's got to be like
9.
You got to be talking about like 8, 9,
maybe even 10 inches.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's fucking almost hard to conceive, but maybe.
I mean, there are dudes out there that have 12 inches of flaccid cock.
Yeah.
So he might have been on the upper end of the scale, just not quite there. I don't fucking know, bro. I think if you're speculating, though, in order for him to name it Jumbo, and to whip it out in front of men to emasculate them, it can't just be big.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be threateningly huge.
So he had to have a thigh slapper, is what I'm thinking.
I mean, it's got to be like a gavel, It's got to be something he could slam on the table.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
I'm thinking like, you look at the movie at the end of Boogie Nights, that fake cock they put on Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, something like that.
I think he probably had something like that if you want to approximate.
Yeah.
But not fake, like actual dick meat. Of course, all these changes that Lady Bird tried to make to please him and look more like his mistresses were for naught. As her husband was known to openly stick his hands up his secretary's skirts right in front of her. So he would like grope women and hit on women right in front of Lady Bird. He really fucking like humiliated her as a woman for whatever reason.
That's kind of fucked up.
I'm sorry about the quality of this picture, but it's an old ass picture. This is the best you're gonna get, In 1948, LBJ won the Democratic primary for Senate after a vicious campaign that included vote fraud on both sides. At the time, there were so few Republicans in Texas that winning the primary basically meant getting elected.
Yeah.
The so-called Box 13 scandal happened when 6 days after polls had closed, 202 additional votes were added to the totals of Precinct 13 of Jim Wells County, 200 for Johnson and 2 for his opponent, Coke Stevenson, who had just finished a lengthy tenure as governor. This resulted in a narrow lead for Johnson. The subsequent recount, handled by the Democratic State Central Committee, took a week. Johnson was announced the winner by 87 votes out of 988,295 votes cast, an extremely narrow margin of victory. Suspicions arose that those 202 late votes that were found were all fraudulent. The names added to the end of the tally.
Well, it looks like we got another similarity between him and Joe Biden
and Donald Trump. I mean, let's be real. This whole ballot stuffing thing,
fair and square.
This whole ballot stuffing, voter fraud thing was such a fucking nothing burger to me. Not because it's like not happening, but because it's been happening. I mean, this is proof. Like, they've been stuffing the ballots and gaming the numbers since God was a boy in this country. It's part and parcel. You may as well get over it because both sides have been doing it. The subsequent recount, like I said, took a week. He won by that slim margin. The names added to the end of the tally sheet were in alphabetical order and written with the same pen.
I didn't even try,
dude. Never mind. Too legit to quit, man. No,
Yep.
I didn't even try.
How many votes we need to get to win? About 200. All right.
Yep.
Suddenly 200 votes was just done been found.
Yeah. Stevenson took the dispute to court, and the case eventually reached the Supreme Court. Johnson prevailed on the basis that jurisdiction over naming a nominee rested with the state party, not the federal government.
I'll say one on
So technicality, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't even actually win on merit. He's just like, yeah, well, I mean,
He stole it.
is it really up for you guys to decide this? They're like, probably not.
A private, non-official investigation found that Johnson had conspired with George Parr, a Democratic Party leader in Texas, to falsify vote totals. Quote,
No way.
when Johnson stole his way into the Senate January 1949, it looked as though he was just a further addition to the forces of reaction that benighted institution. The Senate had for decades been a cruel joke against progress and reform. America's upper house was pickled in archaic rules, the most rigid of which was the seniority system, correctly dubbed the senility system, which placed control in the arthritic grip of a gerontocracy. Well, at least we freed ourselves from that.
Yeah, that's
Thank God. It's
Dude, I'm
gotten.
like, are you reading this about today or about back then? Because
I've always I gotta say I've always been critical of a lot of science fiction about the future, because I think a lot of people, when they try to create a future dystopia, they just exaggerate their complaints about the present.
Yeah.
But in this case, yeah, I mean, all of that stuff just did get worse. They're even older now. They're even stodgier now. It's even more gridlocked and bullshit now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's gotten worse. But it's gotten worse in every regard.
The Senate's always been like that in the U.S., though. I mean, like, obviously it's gotten worse, but it's always kind of been the place where legislation goes to die. That's why you'll hear a lot of times like, well, did it pass the Senate? Because if something passes the Senate first, it's almost way easier for if it passes there to pass in the House.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of crazy shit passes the House.
Well, the filibuster is a reason why, because you need those 60 votes a lot of times, and like,
oh yeah,
and if unless you have an overwhelming majority of one party, which that has happened in our history several times, but unless you have that can just be, oh, you know what, filibuster. Which in the filibuster, actually, you have to talk. Now it's like in the Senate, all you have to do is like, I intend to filibuster that if it goes forward, and they go, oh, the vote failed.
Yeah, they need to bring back the fucking talking filibuster. I want to see these motherfuckers actually show some stamina at least.
Yeah.
They're lazy.
As a senator, LBJ found his true calling. The Senate, with only a quarter of the membership of the House, instantly gave him a higher national profile. Johnson had an uncanny ability to gather information on his fellow legislators and knew where each of his colleagues stood on political issues. With incredible persuasive skills and an imposing presence, he was able to do something he called buttonholing political allies and opponents alike, to convince them that his way of thinking was the correct way of thinking. It became known as the Johnson treatment, in which he leaned close in on a senator, towering over his prey, speaking softly and cajoling, flattering, even bribing.
Yeah, and look how this guy keeps leaning further and further back.
Look at him smiling, though. He's like, he doesn't know how to feel about this.
So this is
presence.
This is like a fucking Tony Soprano mobster fucking.
No, it is.
I mean, like, it's like totally like, I'm your friend. Yeah, kind of like, it's like, I mean, but you see here, the guy, the body language of Johnson is like, I am just dominating you, and the guy is just like backed against his fucking desk, like, please don't hurt me.
So I hate to fucking say it, but when the kids say big dick energy, this is what big dick energy actually looks like when applied, right?
Yes. I mean, this other dude looks fucking terrified. He looks like basically like whatever Lyndon Johnson's going to tell him, he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to go along with that.
So while Senate Majority Leader Johnson needed a vote from a senator who had been rendered mute by disease, Johnson had the senator wheeled onto the floor, then had him point to his eye when it came time to vote. Of all Johnson's instinct, the strongest and most primal was power, the lust for it. As he once told an aide, I do understand power. I know where to look for it, and I know how to use it. Power in the Senate for Johnson lay in its individual members, and his particular genius was as a reader of other men. He knew how to find their strengths. He knew how to find their weaknesses. He knew how to concentrate and apply pressure to those weaknesses. Such was his gift that some regarded it as like a sixth sense. Like, that's how some people talked about his ability to size somebody up, know what their button was, and know how to push it immediately. And the dudes he worked with in the Senate, he had time to study. He had them down even harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to sense each man's price and the commodity he preferred as coin, is a quote from that time. This technique aroused contempt from his contemporaries on Capitol Hill and at university. His college yearbook chronicled his brown nosing, remarking, believe it or not, Bull Johnson has never taken a course in suction. But whatever the salty bitches and haters and critics had to say, it worked. The Johnson treatment fucking worked. So artfully did he insinuate his way into the confidence of the grand old daddies of Congress by posing as their student that he came to be their master, right? Which is something that like doesn't happen often, right? It's like a Sith Lord move.
Oh yeah, it is.
Johnson would have a great empathetic sense for their strained relationships with their sons and insinuate themselves in their lives as a facsimile to fill out that role or give advice on that role. They might not have been so seduced by his courtship had they realized how promiscuously Johnson played at being the professional son.
Well, this is exactly what I was talking about with that how to win friends and influence people shit.
Exactly.
He's putting himself in a position to listen to these guys talk. I mean, like this thing says like, oh, he just had a sixth sense about it. I guarantee they probably fucking just spilled their guts to him the second he fucking, put himself in this role of like, I'm your little surrogate son, and I want to hear your wisdom. But inside of that wisdom is like every fucking thing they really think, all of their fucking character flaws laid out. I mean, and then he's got them.
Yeah.
Because he knows exactly how to fucking, use that shit. And he has he has no compunction about doing it. He's clearly, like you said, a narcissist.
He wrote to a powerful lobbyist, "You've been like a daddy to me." Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he really underscored it. He sensed the men that had that strained relationship, which, by the way, is all men. Right. All men have a strained relationship with their fathers. It's just the way it works, guys.
I mean, I've known a fucking couple of people in my life that seem to have like good, non-fucked up relationships with their dads, like men. But it's
sure.
It's pretty rare.
Most men got daddy issues. For sure.
As senator, Johnson allied himself with Richard B. Russell, the Georgia Democrat who chaired the Senate Armed Services Committee and the powerful Southern Caucus. Known as a senator's senator, Russell could have obtained his party's floor leadership, but he preferred to exert leadership behind the scenes in his powerful committee roles. Russell
hand in glove, really.
Yeah,
I mean, so obviously Johnson's more of someone that he wants to be in that stage. But I mean, like, and that you see a lot of times with powerful people is like that's who they ally with, is someone that is like, I don't want anyone to know. Like, yeah, obviously I'm in a position of power, but I'm more like low key. I'd rather do the maneuvering behind the scenes, that's the Senate to a T. Like, and Johnson knew that too. But you have to have the face of it who's going to sell it to people. And you also have to have the people behind the scenes making the policies. Because Johnson, I think, he's the guy that's going to finesse it and make it happen. And so he doesn't necessarily strike me as the idea guy. It's like, you got to get him sold on the idea, and then he sells the idea to everyone else and makes that idea happen.
I mean, just look at the overt manipulation of this physical closeness, right? These two dudes are sitting pretty close, but for him to insinuate himself between these guys, he's basically resting his foot on this dude's leg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And these guys are happy to have him there. You see?
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, like, this is like three people who are very intimate in a closed setting where it's like, hey, we're all at the fucking smoking club,
I feel like I don't care who you are, though. If you come up and sit next, I'll be like, dude, there's a spot right here. But he knew where to position himself, was in between these two men. So he wasn't a third wheel. And that
he wasn't. Because he knew, you're right.
Resting his foot on this dude's knee and touching legs with these dudes in a very close way. He's basically sitting on this dude's lap halfway almost.
Yeah, look what his arm is. It's like, but this
he's got a cigarette here too, so he's just blowing that in their faces. I mean, there's no bubble with Johnson.
No.
And this is what I talk about, like when Vosh was poo-pooing the idea of strong-arming other senators. This is the swagger. This is the big dick meat swagger that I was talking about there. Not just knowing what your power is and exploiting it, but knowing how to maximally present yourself to people in a way that causes them to become your toadies without even knowing it. Like, these two men should tell this dude, get your cigarette out of my face and get your foot off my leg, bro. Come sit on the couch next to me or go away.
Most people, they would.
Right, but not him.
No, because Johnson was such a dominating personality and force. Like, they know they could do that to him, And if they said that to him, they feared what would happen next. The reprisal was too great for them, so they'd rather just like let him sit there. Who cares, you know?
Right.
And but that just really speaks the volume of his power of interpersonal relationships. Because you're right, most other dudes are not going to let some dude sit like, hey, I'm gonna sit in between you guys and have my fucking leg, basically my leg in your fucking lap.
It's like brothers or like that daddy son thing, right? It's like you'd expect your kid to come sit that close to you and it'd be okay.
Yeah. If your kid comes to sit like sits right next to you, sure, or someone that you really. Yeah,
or
your dad or someone close to you, but
right.
you're not expecting that for some fucking dude you
a colleague, even if you like it. Dude, I wouldn't come sit that close to you and TJ, and I've known you guys for a decade, bro, or more. Like
weird.
13 or 14 years.
Paul just shows up and put my fucking foot in your lap, Scotty.
Yeah, let me sit on TJ's lap halfway and put my foot right in your face, Scotty, and let me blow this cigarette smoke right in your face because I want to talk to you guys. Like never, right?
Your ass getting dumped out of that chair.
Exactly, bro. That's the.
If I did the same to you, of course you do the same. Like Scotty, what the fuck is? Go sit somewhere else.
It's par for the fucking course with this fucking dude, man.
No, he's the most casual one there. He's like, dude, he fucking is like, I belong here. These two guys look like they're uncomfortable. Like they can tell they kind of are. Like
they ain't saying shit to him about it, and they're
slightly uncomfortable though.
Yeah,
dude.
they probably are. This guy looks like he doesn't quite know what to do. This guy looks like he's been through it before. This is.
And LBJ looks as natural as like he's a fucking outcropping of that chair, dude.
This is his close friend Richard B. Russell that we were talking about.
Of course, I mean they're close, but I mean, it's still a little strange.
Yeah, it is. No,
I mean, dude, you know, he's got the double threat. Because on one hand, he's gregarious and he fucking smokes and jokes and everybody likes him.
Yeah, he's a real cool dude.
But on the other hand, you know, he's a fucking ball busting hard ass that you know is gonna fucking domineer you. But you know, so he's like on one hand, he's very pleasant. On the other hand, he's kind of scary. So I mean, he can pretty much do whatever the fuck he wants because everyone wants to keep nice, gregarious, friendly LBJ around, and no one wants to see, you know, mean LBJ. No one wants that guy to show up.
So this is kind of a weird fact about LBJ. LBJ excelled politically at doing something that's completely impossible. So it's a paradox. Okay, because if you talk to people now, the idea of unifying your party into a block by hook or by crook, I mean, you will hear endless litanies of excuses for why that is a physical impossibility.
My dude, my guy, that violates the laws of physics.
Exactly, right? It's clear calculus that you can't do that, etc.
In fact, I would even say if anyone suggests that something like that should happen, I would say they're a childish, naive fool who doesn't even understand anything. I
would too, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's clearly
except
impossible.
For one dude in history, I guess he was Magic Man, Lyndon B. Johnson, because that's what he made his political career doing. He would get the Senate Democrats and a few Republicans into a voting bloc. He charmed them. He flattered them. Otherwise convincing colleagues from both sides of the aisle. Unfortunately, his drive and ambition almost killed him. In mid-1955, he was 49. He had a huge heart attack. He later described it as the worst a man could have and still live. Upon recovery, he quit smoking, lost weight, learned to delegate some responsibility, but he continued in tireless pursuit of his agenda.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of glad that he had that heart attack, because at least that to me, that shows me that he was actually stressed out about all this shit behind the scenes.
It's not easy.
Right. I mean, you know, he makes it seem easy though.
Yeah, no, he knew what he was doing and he had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it was on the razor's edge of victory and defeat, as all plans are, right?
Yeah. Fortune favors the bold and all that.
Right. He was instrumental in winning passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1957, working closely with Eisenhower while soothing Southern colleagues who were suspicious of such social change. When the Soviets launched Sputnik, the world's first satellite, that same year, he led the way to get America into the race for space.
Space race.
Exactly. By 1958, what is a mestizo? Who are the Negroids? Who are the Caucasioids? Find out on Space Race. Man, $1 billion fucking dollar idea.
I know.
By 1958, Johnson sensed that he had gone as far in the Senate as he ever would. And he remembered that schoolboy fucking of his old and decided it was time to fucking prove everybody wrong.
Oh, he never forgot that.
Set his sights right on the presidency. But it was a rocky road to the presidency, TJ.
I feel like it almost always is.
Yep. So being from the South was still a handicap for a presidential candidate in 1960. The region had not yet assumed the kind of power that would put Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton in the White House in later years. In fact, LBJ was instrumental in smoothing that line for Southern politicians to find their place in power. His primary foe for nomination was his Senate colleague, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, an unknown, ugly, dumbass son of a bitch that probably never fucked a bitch in his life.
Yeah.
Certainly had nothing in common. Had no big dick energy at all of his own. No, sir. And what was he going to claim? Okay, so maybe I'm just pouring on a little hot sauce here, but what's he going to say? Oh, I fucked Marilyn Monroe? Oh, sir, I fucked Marilyn. What do you say? You saying he did fuck Marilyn Monroe? Oh, son of a bitch. I can't beat this motherfucker. Anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah. He raised not only the Catholic issue, so he was dirty. So he was like, this is a Catholic right here. That's a Pope worshiper. He don't know how to be an American right now. But he also he brought up the health problems of John F. Kennedy, who spent much of the 50s recovering from a delicate spinal surgery. He had Addison's disease.
He got a weak spine. He worships the Pope.
Yeah.
He's no damn good.
He's weak.
Johnson described his, at this point, totally robust opponent as a scrawny little fellow with rickets.
Man.
Yeah. Little Marco. Yeah, little Marco Rubio, etc. And other unnamed maladies. The Kennedy camp whispered about the lingering effects of Johnson's 1955 heart attack. Kennedy spent lavishly, worked local political machines with corporate efficiency, and piled up one primary win after the other. The young man from Boston won the party's nomination on the first ballot. However, Kennedy was a decided underdog to win the White House, and the Democrats needed a running mate who would appeal to those that JFK made uneasy. And who better than, who was that guy's name?
I know the initials are LBJ, but I can't remember what the fuck it stands for.
Oh, yeah, LBJ. Southern, Protestant, mature.
Lionel Beauregard.
Lyndon Baines Johnson, TJ. Don't you know a
Jameson.
goddamn thing about this
Oh,
country,
yeah,
TJ?
yeah.
What's this episode about?
Who this about?
Do we need
who this
an
is?
episode for dummies, TJ? I thought this was the episode for dummies.
Um,
A fucking picture book for you, buddy.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I mean, it was a joke. I know it's Lyndon B. Johnson.
Whatever.
No, you didn't know that, TJ.
No.
The biggest thing that LBJ brought to the ticket as VP was he was a
His
congressional.
dick.
Well, that too, but he was literally the ultimate congressional insider alive at that time. He knew everybody. He knew their buttons. They all respected him. They all knew he didn't fuck around, and he was going to be able to sling his dick around in the Senate a lot.
Right.
And that's a huge bonus to a young president that a lot of people are iffy about, right?
And I mean, the great thing is too, you're just one fucking assassin's bullet away.
Well,
from fucking,
yeah, that's
the
true.
White House,
You want to know what the funny thing is on this too? Is the Obama VP Biden was an attempt to do this. It was an attempt to give credibility to a young, unknown candidate that some people had racial or, in Kennedy's case, religious hangups about that were really not addressable.
Right.
And so you found a white, kind of like conservative, middle of the road, status quo
Senate
politician, Senate guy that had been around forever in the Senate.
Because that's what Biden was too. He was a fucking
Biden. Yeah.
Biden was a Senate ghoul too.
Right.
I mean, he had run for president, never got more than 1% support. And I mean, he was just kind of like, it's Biden. But of course, that when Obama put him on the ticket, it's like, now I don't know if I can vote for that Obama fella. He's got the wrong color. But who's behind him? Why does Snow Joe? All right, I can do it.
Biden never had that big dick energy like Johnson had, but he was an accomplished legislator.
And he knew every button in the Senate.
Oh yeah, he knows the Senate.
Biden fucking. I mean, he probably doesn't anymore because he's fucking gone. But I mean, yeah,
he used to. He used to know it.
I mean, when Biden was in his prime, he definitely was the consummate fucking senator. He knew what was what in that.
Oh, fucking true that. Kennedy,
he did evil shit with that power. By the way, most of the shit that he accomplished was not good.
Yeah,
but he did accomplish some things.
Kennedy kind of had like an amused vision of LBJ. If you listen to the way he talked and listen to the people that knew him at the time, not in a bad way, not in like a making fun of him way. He was just such a different guy from Kennedy. He was amused by that like kind of country thing, that a Texan on a ranch would have, right? And he was amused and kind of like awed by the larger than life Texan, and was mildly surprised when Johnson not only accepted his offer for VP, but dove in fucking balls deep and campaigned.
They're both kind of caricatures.
I mean,
but Kennedy's not really. I mean, Kennedy, though popular, was not super relatable. But LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, was some guy that was like he was all American. You're right, Paul. It's like a folksy quality to him. It's like the way he spoke, the way he acted. It's like that's Americana.
And
right
Kennedy
this
was
guy's America.
Kennedy was this New England, Boston kind of Massachusetts, upper crusty rich guy, kind of with that transatlantic affectation that kind of went out of popularity in the 40s, right? And
yes.
he
was a fucking charismatic dude, though.
Undoubtedly.
But I mean, like,
those things that make him charismatic to a lot of people.
But he also knew his weaknesses. That's why he offered this guy the fucking VP role to begin with. He's like, the one thing I cannot be this, like Americana.
He can't be a good old. He can't be a fucking good old boy.
He can't be a good old boy. Exactly right.
Exactly.
And LBJ is a good old boy. He's the definition of good old boy. If you fucking look, like if you look his name in the dictionary or you looked up good old boy, his name should be fucking, or his picture should be there.
Yep. Unfortunately, you guys might be able to speak to this. You got two close brothers, right? Two guys. You got JFK and RFK, right?
Uh-huh.
You guys have a similar kind of age difference than them, and you guys are similarly close. They worked and kind of like lived near each other their whole lives and were very involved with one another, right?
Yeah.
And when there's another dude that kind of steps into that, not a brother, because nobody can step in and be your brother, but like a guy, so JFK and LBJ kind of became really good friends.
That makes sense to me. LBJ is the ultimate schmoozer. This guy's the president. They're both charismatic men. They're both obviously very fucking intelligent.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could see how they could, gel.
Right. But it started a feud. A long-standing feud, and this picture here, I wish I could zoom in. It's very low res, but it's a famous picture. Yeah, you can kind of see, the camaraderie and friendship between LBJ and JFK, and then here's Bobby, and he is shooting fucking daggers.
Oh God, dude, he looks like he's the wallflower. Looks like he didn't get asked to prom.
Yeah,
it's like, did anyone ask you to prom, buddy? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He doesn't look too happy with it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he never was. Unlike his older brother John, Robert considered the campaign slurs and insinuations to be personal attacks on his family, and so when LBJ was running against, fucking all these acronyms, man.
LBJ, JFK, RFK.
Yeah. Okay. So when Johnson was running against Kennedy, he had gone way dirty, like we said. He slung mud. He was like,
he slung mud at his religion and shit.
Right, exactly. And fucking JFK was a political animal to the core, and he didn't give a fuck about that. Like, he cared about winning. But Bobby took personal offense to that shit because Bobby was a pussy. Let's be fucking real, right? I'm not saying that, like, he was a total pussy, but he was just mad. he didn't see the political advantage that his brother was availing himself of having LBJ on the ticket. He wasn't able to look past his ego and his hurt feelings from a dirty campaign, right? And that just stuck with him basically his whole life.
I mean, look, some motherfuckers bear a grudge, some motherfuckers don't. JFK is obviously the kind of guy that's just like, que sera, sera. It was politics. We said what we said. I fucking said shit about you. You said shit about me. Now let's fucking work together.
Exactly.
But you know,
we're gonna be way more powerful together than we are as enemies. So let's just do it. Fuck it.
But fucking, you know, Bobby is obviously way more like, motherfucker talks so much shit.
No, he's like, fuck, he dragged our family through the mud, and you're working with that fucking Texas shitheel. How could you? You know.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I love this shot too because it's like it's so obvious that he knows what he's doing, and he's just like he pretends like he's not even there. He's like, let me just kind of just drink out like this. Like, yeah, anyways.
Yeah, he's got the drink as like a barrier to show Bobby that he's like not even in the conversation, and you can see how engaged and eye locked the other two are. It's like Bobby's not even there.
Yeah, it is,
and he's pissed. So. When news of JFK selecting LBJ as his vice president enraged key Northern liberals, Robert Kennedy was dispatched to Johnson's hotel suite to persuade him to withdraw. He failed at his task, but he did earn Johnson's enmity as a, quote, grandstanding little runt. Things got worse. Johnson rankled the Kennedys by claiming credit for the winning margins. But by the way, he did it in Texas and other southern states. That is what he did. Yeah. So he took credit for winning the South for Kennedy.
He was probably there for in the first place. So
right. Democratic victory in razor thin Democratic victory in 1960. The Kennedys humbled Johnson in turn by denying him a meaningful role in the new administration. Oh shit. See, I think what happened was JFK listened to fucking Bobby's butthurt bitch ass and was like, all right, dude, I'll fucking marginalize this powerful tool that we've got of controlling the Senate. And I'll make him feel like a little baby bitch in my administration, Bobby. Is that good, Bobby? Does that assuage your little fucking temper tantrum, Bobby? You know what I mean? And there it was, you know, fucking passed up his, maybe chance to make some big change in his very short presidency. JFK did treat Johnson rather respectfully, but the White House inner circle led by Robert Kennedy ignored Johnson in public and belittled him mercilessly behind closed doors. A visitor to Robert Kennedy's Virginia estate recalled a gathering at which friends gave Kennedy a Johnson voodoo doll. The merriment, he wrote, was overwhelming.
So he just hated him.
I think that's definitely a role in it too. But I think it's them just trying to be fucking snobby. I think that's part of it as well because of the fact that he's like,
well, hey, JFK wasn't that way. Well, JFK stayed on fucking good terms with LBJ.
He was a real personable guy, though. That's one of JFK's landmarks was that he was really good with people. But his brother, you can tell it's not that.
It is not. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, let me hold this grudge. He's beneath us. He's dog shit. He's some fucking Texas shitheel, basically. Send him back to the fucking big sky where he fucking belongs.
So Johnson did what you would expect him to do. Kennedy relegated Johnson to the outer circles of this new frontier that he talked about, but he did give him some pretty significant responsibilities as VP. Johnson headed the space program, played a key role in military policy, and he chaired the president's committee for equal employment opportunity. Foreign policy front, Johnson had much less influence. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, for example, Johnson was a member of the group convened to advise the president, but was excluded from the meeting at which the final decisions were made about the American response. Overall, Johnson was frustrated as vice president, particularly when the new frontiersmen around Kennedy ignored him and refused to take advantage of his expertise. Which, you would be salty about that. Like, why did you put me on the fucking ticket and bring me into your fucking confidence? You're not going to let me do what I'm best at, which is help you, But, obviously his own fucking mouth and temper and way of being kind of caused that enmity between the younger brother and himself. I mean, he could have used some of that sleazy charm on Bobby, but as you can see in this picture here, right? LBJ is giving him the shit eye.
He just felt like he was nothing. Like
Right.
JFK, he felt like, you know what? This guy beat me. So at least there's that. Like he felt like there's like, hey, give him some deference. He did in the political like we went toe to toe and he fucking won. But this guy is like, this is like the afterbirth. It's like, who the fuck's this botched clone? It's like, I don't fucking need to respect this guy. Fuck him.
Yep. And you know what? There's a take on this that maybe being elbowed out of that foreign policy almost completely by RFK and his ilk is what left LBJ so ill prepared and ill informed for the magnitude of Vietnam and other regional conflicts. And it's something.
Yeah, I mean, this the thing is like, you know, just from a pragmatic sense, the vice president has to be a guy. I mean, that needs to be a dude or I guess a woman. Doesn't matter.
A person.
A person who is fucking able to assume at a moment's notice the mantle of fucking presidency. So they fucking very much need to be appraised of everything that's going on.
Yeah, so icing out the vice president.
They need to fucking, I mean, they need to shadow the fucking president because that's your fucking backup president right there.
Right.
That often is not the case, though. If you actually look in the office of vice president, it's like it's almost always like it's more ceremonial than fucking anything. To be honest with you, until it's not.
So, and that's so weird because I mean, that's a person that could very easily be the president. Like,
right?
Look at Kamala Harris for fuck's sake. I mean, Joe Biden could fucking keel over any fucking second. If he gets a second term, I almost expect him to.
Yeah. So, you know, we don't need to go over Kennedy's assassination. I think we talked about it at length in at least one episode. And during the conspiracy gauntlet, we went like super deep dive.
I mean, it's not the most original topic, let's be honest.
No. But just in case, just really quickly, in late November 1963, Kennedy traveled to Texas to shore up support for his upcoming election bid. Johnson was riding two cars behind Kennedy's in the motorcade when the bullet struck the young president. By the time Johnson reached the hospital, Kennedy was already dead. Aboard Air Force One, before its return to Washington, Johnson was sworn in as president. Lady Bird and Kennedy's widow were at his side. When the plane landed, he gave a brief speech to his dazed nation, promising, "I will do my best. That is all I can do." RFK's dislike of Johnson worsened in the wake of John Kennedy's assassination in 1963.
Well, yeah, you're going to be bitter. You're going to be fucking super bitter.
Though President Johnson enshrined JFK's legacy through legislation, RFK would always view him as an unworthy usurper. Our president was a gentleman and a human being. This man is not, Bobby said in a 1964 interview with shocking candor. He's mean, bitter, vicious, and animal in many ways.
And that's why you had him killed too.
Probably so.
All right, take his ass out too. It's been long enough.
Well, this little sumbitch didn't learn to not run his mouth when I showed him my dick too. That's usually enough. Kill him.
Yeah.
Oh
no.
I don't actually think LBJ.
No, I don't think
Kennedy is assassinated.
That's what they all say.
I mean, look, if it was revealed, I wouldn't be completely shocked.
I'd be pretty fucking shocked, bro.
I don't think he did it.
I think he was a philanderer and a manipulator. I don't think he was a murderer.
Yeah, and I don't think it would be. I mean, if he was going to do that, he would have done it towards the beginning of the administration.
I think so. He would have done it more often too. I think
not on the ass.
Yeah, it's like on the eve of re-election. It's like, what good is that, anyways?
Yeah, this was just a horrible thing. You can easily lose and have no
power. Yeah,
it was a horrible thing that happened. I mean, if he had, anything to do with it, it was just fucking horribly done. Which doesn't sound like him. He never did anything horribly. You know what I mean? Anyway, Johnson could do little but fume at such treatment from the man he privately referred to as that little run. Oh yeah, fuck. I think I went up. No, I didn't. With public sympathy for the Kennedy family still at an all-time high, any shoddy treatment of a grieving brother could surely backfire.
Yeah, there's no way he could say
you should just fucking take it.
Right.
You're the president.
You have to
settle down.
And obviously harm your legacy. He didn't want to do that. Granted, Robert Kennedy's criticism wasn't much of a stretch of the truth, to be honest. A favorite device of LBJ to embarrass his subordinates was obliging them to take his orders while he took a shit.
Right.
He liked to pee in front of them. and wave his dick at him.
I mean, look, this is a dude that really liked to do everything he could to remind you that he has the power. That's why, I mean, everything he does. I mean, he fucking he leans over you like a fucking specter. He fucking sits on the fucking ledge of the fucking chair you're sitting in.
Yeah.
You know, he fucking if you're his wife, he fucking insults the shit out of you. If you're, you know, if you're a political opponent, he's fucking up in your face. If you're a political ally, he's up in your face. If you're an underling, he's making you fucking take notes while he's shitting and making you smell his
another
fucking
thing.
vapors and shit.
It's like that move. It's like that power move that the dad pulls in Friday when he's like, "Get in here, boy. I smelled your shit for 28 years. You can smell mine for 5 minutes." He makes his shit in front of him. He makes a big boom boom in front of him. Yeah, dude, it's like that power move, but he's not their dad, you know? It's just he knew how to do it. The problem with him, I think, a little bit is like he would do it in front of his fucking like female secretaries and shit too. Not like in a sexual way, but like he'd just pee in front of them, you know what I mean? Shit in front of them, make them take notes. He was given to bragging about his dick too. He would tell dudes like Jumbo got himself a workout last night and stuff like that. While he was pissing. So I think I've got a video here of Johnson flirting a little bit. It's 5 minutes. We don't have to listen to the whole thing. I want you guys to tell me if you can hear it and if it's stuttering or anything. Oh, fuck. Well, there it goes. I think this is the YouTube thing. Let me go whitelist YouTube before I do this. I'm going to go see if I can, that changes it.
YouTube has been tinkering. I was reading online with server side injection for these ads and all this stuff. So if you're trying to block ads, they're adding a lot of stuff into the streams. So that might be your issue, is I know they're doing everything in their power to fucking destroy ad blockers.
Yeah. They're really working on it, I think. Anyway, let me see if I think this should work. I don't know though. We'll see. If it doesn't, I might have TJ just pull it up and see if it works better for him. It just like, I don't think it has anything to do with my connection. It's just like a fucking browser issue and a blocker issue and a security issue and everything else issue that I got to fucking figure out. Anyway, see if you can hear this. It should be able to. There's no sound right now. There you go. So can you hear that?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't think you've shared audio.
Fuck. I fucking hate. Fuck my life, bro. All right, there we go. Bloop, bloop, bloop. All right. Here we go. And now it's gonna fucking buffer for no reason again.
LBJ.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. President.
Hello, my sweetheart. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. Are you?
You know, the only one thing I dislike about this job is that I'm married and I can't ever get to see you. I just hear that sweet voice and it's always on the telephone. And I'd like to break out of here and be like one of these young animals down on my ranch, jump a fence.
Now, that's going to set me up for the month.
No, that's
you
true. That's true. But we got to get together soon. We got to get this together some evening and just
I know
3 or 4 of us sit around.
At any time.
Well, I've been here till after
3 or 4 of us. You mean the 2 of us?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
the
we're all
two of us.
together. Yeah, right.
We
Sure.
can make it if we try.
Oh, I'm sorry, my wife couldn't make it.
It's too bad I'm a married man, or I'd have laid a pipe in that fucking
Dude, he
sweet
just
pussy.
said it. He wants to jump the fucking fence, dude. That's what a dog does.
I'd
He
be
wants
like
to
a
roam the
goddamn
neighborhood.
animal.
Yeah.
I'd fuck you like an animal, bitch. You hear what I'm telling you right now? Get your ass over to Washington.
I'm sure he probably did.
Don't you do that too much.
Not at all.
I know you have to now, but I hope we stop it soon.
Well, we'll
Mr.
try.
President, I'm calling you on behalf of the newspaper publishers, of which our publisher, John Sweeterman, is in the organization that I'm referring to. Every year, as you probably remember, on the Thursday that closes.
Wow.
So who cares what she's calling for? Let's see.
Dude, I love how he just sounds like a Texas shit kicker, and she's like, "Oh, darling, you surely remember."
See, it's so fucking garbage to not be able to just like scroll around and.
Yeah, dude, I don't know, man.
It's fucking doesn't. It makes no sense. So let me try something else here. See if there's anything else going on.
It is how these things go sometimes. YouTube does not like to cooperate.
Yep. All right.
Paul, how dare you block ads, dude? How dare you do it?
1,500 publishers, and they're
We can hear it too, so it's
That's
agreed.
now it's buffering again.
Buffering.
Buffering.
Did you pull the stuff in advance?
The other fucking thing. It's already on auto 240p. I mean, it's not a fucking. So there's no reason this should be buffering other than YouTube doesn't like something about my.
It's just probably because it's all these streams are just a bunch of little tiny videos.
What do you want to bet? Problem's over now.
Yeah, probably.
I just turned my ad blocker completely fucking off.
Together some evening and just
I know.
3 or 4.
See if I can scan around now.
Yep. It's probably gonna be better. Oh
Maybe
no, it's
not.
not.
Nope. So no ad blocker at all, but I'm not on a Chromium browser. What do you want to bet if I opened up Chrome right now, I wouldn't have a fucking problem in the world? What do you
I
want to
bet you'd be right. I bet you'd be right.
Well, fuck you, Google. I'm not using Chrome. You can eat my asshole. We heard what we needed to hear. It was oh, there it is again. Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks for the buffer. Yeah. Buffer me, baby. Fuck you, Google. We heard LBJ flirting with somebody he shouldn't have been fucking flirting with. That was the point. We're done with that shit. Fuck your video and fuck you up your ass.
Fuck all you posers.
God damn it. I hate fucking the modern world really is dog shit.
Dog shit.
Dog shit.
Dog shit, boy. It's dog shit.
Okay, so despite all of his boorishness and his obvious character flaws and all that bullshit, Johnson was one of the most efficient and effective presidents in history. He leveraged the nation's grief over Kennedy to push through major civil rights legislation on top of having to almost immediately campaign for his next term. On November 27, 1963, Lyndon B. Johnson addressed a joint section of Congress, calling on them to honor the martyred Kennedy's memory by passing major civil rights legislation that had currently been stalled in congressional committees. While preparing his speech, Johnson's aides had warned him that the bill was most likely a lost cause and that pursuing it would hurt his chances in the next election less than a year later. Johnson's simple response, well, what the hell's the presidency for? Would go down as one of the most famous quotes of his career, and probably like the thing that makes me the saddest about the state of affairs today.
Yeah.
Because the answer to that question today is the presidency is for making a bunch of money and never taking a risk or doing anything good for anybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Keeping your political power intact forever. Johnson narrowed down the votes he'd need and viciously pursued them, keeping them accountable by secretly recording every conversation. He helped to get the 24th Amendment to the Constitution ratified, which eliminated poll taxes and set the foundation for more equal access to voting. He pushed through the Civil Rights Act of 1964, outlawing discrimination based on race or color, sex, religion, or national origin. I worked very closely with MLK Jr. to craft it, another acronym guy, and used his.
Yeah, there was a lot more acronym dudes.
Well, I just think if you're an acronym guy, you're probably just like destined for greatness. I think that's what it is. Or at least destined for like historical infamy at the very least, right?
Yeah.
He crafted it with the black community, with MLK Jr. He used that old Johnson treatment to fucking swing that big old jumbo in people's faces. And guess what? The dude did the impossible, guys. And I don't know how he did this. Nobody knows. He defeated the Senate parliamentarian, guys. What? He got several Republicans to break ranks and vote for civil rights. It's impossible. It's impossible, but yet this man did it.
Wow.
Don't tell me how,
he
guys.
Must have found a magic lamp and rubbed it and had a genie pop out and made a wish. Paul.
Well, Vosh did say that we were living in the Harry Potter universe a lot and claimed that we were like, magic. So sit at home and do nothing, and then magically things will get better. Is how we. I guess that's how we explained our position.
I mean, that's my position. I don't know.
That is
you.
my
Always
position.
been my position.
I will find a djinn and I will make a wish, and that'll solve the problem.
Well, at least the guy doesn't continue to, like, after being corrected multiple times live, doesn't continue to misrepresent our positions in that way. Oh wait, yes, he does. Isn't that great? Not salty about Vosh at all, by the way. Don't have
right, yeah. Not even a little bit.
Not even a tiny bit. In addition to say, like, the civil rights shit would already make him the greatest president in a long time, probably since his mentor and his political hero, FDR.
Arguably, yeah.
He also laid out a plan to address poverty with his Great Society speech. The Great Society was an ambitious series of policy initiatives, really obviously inspired by and based heavily on the New Deal. Something that I've been screaming that we need a president to back and push through Congress for a long time, and I've been told that's impossible.
Yet more impossibilities, Paul.
Yeah, another impossible task.
Does your naivete know no bounds?
It surely does not.
It did get stymied, though. The main goals of ending poverty, reducing crime, abolishing inequality, improving the environment, pretty fucking forward thinking. This included crazy Medicare and Medicaid serving millions of the poor and elderly, and the Office of Economic Opportunity, which provided training and job assistance to hundreds of thousands of unemployed Americans and a head start to education for their children, later calling it the War on Poverty. Johnson picked up momentum even after his reelection. In 1965, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act was passed. It was the act that guaranteed federal funding for education in school districts whose majority was low income. The Housing and Urban Development Act, known as HUD, of 1965, that was Johnson too. He provided federal funds to cities for urban renewal and development. For cities to receive the funds, they had to establish minimum housing standards. The law also provided easier access to home mortgages and a controversial rent subsidy program for vulnerable Americans that people would have called communism now.
Communism! I say unto you men,
well, they call it
surely the best arbiter is the market itself.
Of course. The market hates pores. Environmental protections like the Air Quality Act and consumer protections of the National Product Safety Commission were also part of his legislative accomplishments. So that out of the way, let's talk about where he destroyed.
Yeah, let's talk about where.
I wish we could play that Jimi Hendrix song, all along the Watchtower.
Yeah, I know. It ain't me. Let's leave the marbled, ostentatious beauty of Washington D.C. Let's go in the jungle, baby.
Southeast Asia.
Yeah, despite Johnson's Great Society having a lasting impact on almost all future political and social agendas, his success was overshadowed almost completely by the Vietnam War. He's more remembered as a guy that fucking was a warmonger than any of the other things I just mentioned.
Yeah, and it sucks because his social policy was pretty good. And
but this was a fucking stumbling block for the man.
Well, remember, that was one of the big JFK assassination talking points, was like that JFK was going to get us out of Vietnam, but then he was killed and Johnson went all the way in.
And it's true.
He did escalate.
I mean, in his defense, JFK didn't get the fuck out either, and he had the chance. He didn't.
Nor did the French, dude. Nor did the fucking French. Like,
true.
It was one of those conflicts. It was like with Afghanistan. It was like, oh, the Russia invaded, and that went horribly. Okay, then with this country, it was like, oh, we had French colonialism. Oh, they're being slaughtered. That's going horribly.
Well, the way my dad explained Vietnam to me was, son, it can feel real good to put your dick in a beehive at first, but that honey is sticky. And once them bees start stinging, it can be a hard thing to pull your dick out of that beehive.
Your dad's explanation is perfect.
So he was forced to divert funds from the war on poverty to the war in Vietnam, basically a war on the Vietnamese people. Despite the enormous amount of legislation that was passed by his administration, Johnson is seldom remembered, as I said, as a champion of the underprivileged and at risk. Instead, he's arguably better known as the commander-in-chief who forced America into an unwinnable war that resulted in over 58,000 American military fatalities. On August 7, 1964, Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, giving the president power to pursue military action in Vietnam. That's something, by the way, they don't have to do anymore. The president can just do that now. Thank you, George Bush.
Yay.
With the help of Democrat Senator Fulbright assured his colleagues that they needed to pass the resolution to protect Johnson from Republican attack. If he intended to actually use his full power to deploy force in the conflict, Fulbright said he would return to Congress for their approval. He never did. Despite campaign promises to not widen U.S. involvement in the region, which had begun during President Eisenhower's administration and intensified under Kennedy, Johnson vastly increased the number of U.S. troops in Vietnam and vastly expanded their mission.
Oh yeah, dude. Like if you watch that, I mean, Ken Burns documentary has got to be like the definitive Vietnam documentary.
If there's a villain in the Vietnam War in the presidency, it was Johnson.
Oh, dude, 100%. Because the military commanders kept asking him, like they kept telling him, like, we can win this war. We just need more troops, more troops, more fucking. Let's drop more Agent Orange. Let's drop more fucking bombs.
I don't want to drag more modern politics into this, but you learn from your history, right?
Of course.
The left at that time that was opposing the war absolutely flayed this man alive. They didn't carry his water. They didn't go, well, but the other guy would genocide worse. They flayed him to pieces. They used to call him the lying son of a bitch because he promised them he would not widen the war in Vietnam, and he did over and over.
Oh my God.
Every chance he had to de-escalate and come to the table, he escalated. Every chance he had to say no to some cockamamie idea, he said yes to it. Okay? This man was lost. And that's why I said earlier, a lot of people would say, and I would say it's kind of apologetics for him, that because he was so shut out of the Kennedy administration, he never got that fucking on-the-job experience at the national level that he needed to do that foreign policy shit. You know?
Yeah, but he kept saying yes. He relied so heavily on the military-industrial complex. And of course, they always have the incentive to like more troops, more vehicles, more shit. Like they're always going to be on the side of continuing. Yeah, we can win the battle. Victory is right around the corner. When it's like, dude, there's not many. You have to look pretty far back in history to find out like basically conquerors that went out there and that's how they won by. And usually, you know how they did it? It was like people like Genghis Khan or the Roman Empire.
Well,
was like,
and you know,
kill everyone. You know how they won it, Paul? Kill everyone that can oppose you.
Yeah.
Then you win. So
and
unless the U.S. was willing to do that, which we weren't going to win.
And you know the history of fucking conquerors in these big nation states, because you're a student of history, Scotty, often finds itself breaking on a small piece of land that they just have to have for fucking like
who knows what reason. Yeah. Oh, they have the resources. Oh, it's power. Like this is the jewel of civil. It's like whatever it is. You're right. There's got
exactly. And they just
some sort of
like the tide breaks on the shore, and that fucking giant country is destitute and bankrupt and falling apart from the inside before you know it. And that's what happened to our country too. Our fucking shoreline, our rocky shoreline, was Southeast Asia. And let's talk a little bit about what Johnson did. So Johnson admitted privately, of course, not to the people early on in his presidency, to his inner circle, that he had no fucking clue what to do with Vietnam. Which is, you know, at least he admitted it. Right. But he admitted it. You know, he didn't try and pretend like it was his idea or his thing. You know, like privately amongst the people that helped him, he was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do here.
He was out of his depth.
There was a no-win situation in Vietnam at the time. You know, it was like that Afghanistan pullout where Biden looked simultaneously like good and horrible. It was like that, right?
Yeah.
So he believed the U.S. had several choices in dealing with Vietnam, including sending in troops to, quote, start attacking the Viet Cong, or withdrawing and leaving South Vietnam to its fate. So basically everything on the table. On a call with National Security Advisor McGeorge Bundy on May 27th, 1964, Johnson voiced his concerns about the war. Johnson said, it just worries the hell out of me. Wait, I'm doing Nixon. It just worries the hell out of me.
You were.
It just worries the hell out of me. I don't see what we can ever hope to get out of there once we're committed. I don't think it's worth fighting for, and I don't think we can get out. And it's just the biggest goddamn mess I ever saw. Johnson ultimately decided to send more troops to Vietnam, tragically. First, he authorized sustained bombing of North Vietnam, tragically. Then he sent combat forces, more tragically. By November 1965, there were 175,000 troops in Vietnam. Additional 100,000 came the following year. The number surged to over 500,000, so 535,000 by the end of his presidency. Like I said, the left didn't go like, well, at least he's not Nixon. At least he's not Nixon. Vote blue no matter who. Vote blue no matter who. The left didn't, for whatever reason, didn't think that was the good tactic back then. They vehemently opposed, and in fact, opposed Johnson more because it was his job to represent their interest, and their voices were not being heard. Every time they said slow down, he escalated. So they called a spade a spade. He was a warmonger. And after numerous and fierce protests, Johnson tried to organize peace talks between the North and South of Vietnam, but it was shocked when suddenly South Vietnam, an ally of the U.S., just withdrew. The FBI later learned it occurred because Republican nominee Richard Nixon had intervened and promised South Vietnam a way better deal under his administration. They didn't know that at the time. Johnson alerted Senator Everett Dirksen about the campaign's interference.
We talked about that and a lot more in the Nixon episode.
And he told Nixon to quit playing with it. This is treason. In the final analysis, we actually had a better deal going at that time than we did when we pulled out of Vietnam in 75. And in that time frame, the lives lost were about 25,000 American troops, said Jones, special assistant to Johnson. If it hadn't been for the Nixon campaign, I think we could have gotten a peace agreement in Vietnam, unquote. Or end quote, not unquote. So yeah, here is, just Vietnam wasn't the only venue where Johnson sent troops, of course. On April 28, 1965, Johnson sent U.S. Marines into the Dominican Republic, that time to protect U.S. citizens after a military coup and a resulting civil war. Many Latin American governments and private individuals and organizations condemned the U.S. invasion of the Dominican Republic as a return to the, quote, gunboat diplomacy, which we've talked about before, too, of the early 20th century when U.S. Marines invaded and occupied a number of Latin American nations on the slightest of pretexts. In the United States, politicians and citizens who were already skeptical of Johnson's policy in Vietnam heaped scorn on Johnson's statements about the, quote, communist danger in the Dominican Republic. And here is him stepping down from the presidency. We'll see if YouTube will even let me play this for you guys. It looks like the answer is initially going to be no. Okay, there we go.
Finally, my fellow Americans, let me say this. Of those to whom much is given, much is asked. I cannot say, and no man could say, that no more will be asked of us. Yet I believe that now, no less than when the decade began, this generation of Americans is willing to pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty. Since those words were spoken by John F. Kennedy, the people of America have kept that compact with mankind's noblest cause, and we shall continue to keep it. Yet I believe that we must always be mindful of this one thing. Whatever the trials and the tests ahead, the ultimate strength of our country and our cause will lie not in powerful weapons or infinite resources or boundless wealth, but will lie in the unity of our people. This, I believe, very deeply.
I'm confused about something.
What's that?
What's that?
This guy's talking right now. He's supposed to be the president, right?
No, he was the president. Yeah,
but I'm listening to him talk, and I'm wondering why is he enunciating his words so much?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Back then, they would really talk in a weird way that was really easy to understand.
Stupid talk, dude.
Yeah, man. What the fuck's wrong with him?
Like why isn't he mumbling and stumbling and making weird references about his leg hair and shit?
And he's supposed to whisper and stuff.
Why is he asking questions about sharks at the very least and giant batteries?
At the very least, you're supposed to fucking just talk in, monosyllabic grunts. Why? It's either monosyllabic grunts or fucking old man mumbles. That's the fucking two ways the president is supposed to talk.
Why? Also,
I don't know what's with all this articulation and enunciation of fucking words and shit. It's fucking weird.
Why is he also like not making these weird faces with his eyes blown wide open, like he's lost and suddenly doesn't know where he is and shit? Why isn't that happening either? Like I haven't heard a single waripi doo-ah out of him yet. And he looks like he's about that age where you start to waripi-doo,
Waripi-doo.
Waripi-doo. Yeah, where's that?
Yeah.
I haven't heard one bit of fucking gibberish from this man.
Disappointing.
YouTube, pause one time and you're fucking loading forever. YouTube, pause one time and you're fucking load forever.
Throughout my entire public career, I have followed the personal philosophy that I am a free man and American, a public servant, and a member of my party. In that order, always and only. For 37 years in the service of our nation, first as a congressman, as a senator, and as vice president, and now as your president, I have put the unity of the people first. I have put it ahead of any divisive partisanship. And in these times, as in times before, it is true that a house divided against itself by the spirit of faction, of party, of region, of religion, of race, is a house that cannot stand.
There you go.
Shit.
I don't know what he was babbling about. Some
what a fucking gibberish, dude.
Is he even capable of doing utilitarian calculus? I mean, who is this tanky fuck? Anyway,
house divided against itself cannot stand. What a bunch of bullshit.
It can stand just fine.
LBJ privately was agonized to know that Americans thought of him as the architect, not of equal rights and Medicare, but the hated Vietnam War. Johnson had suffered 3 major heart attacks, and he knew he didn't have long to live. He incessantly recalled that Johnson men died before reaching 65, and he was 64. In December 1972, Johnson called civil rights leaders to his new presidential library in Austin, Texas, to commemorate his landmark civil rights, voting rights, and fair housing acts. Suffering severe heart pains and startling the audience by popping a nitroglycerin capsule into his mouth, he lamented that he hadn't, quote, done enough to advance equal rights, and closed by repeating the just a reiteration of his famous 1965 speech to Congress, "We shall overcome." On January 12, 1973, 10 days before his death, he summoned Walter Cronkite to his ranch, and he recalled his own transformation from a Senate candidate who had virtually endorsed white supremacy into the greatest civil rights president of all time. Johnson was napping in his ranch bedroom when he suffered his last massive coronary, called his beloved Secret Service agent Mike Howard, and fell to the floor, almost instantly died. Exactly 2 days after the presidential term he would have served had he run again in 1968, and almost the same moment that his successor, Richard Nixon, declared peace in Vietnam, that had eluded LBJ and would not last. Unfortunately, the piece.
And guys, spoiler, it all turned out awesomely. No.
And so that's what I got for you on LBJ. Super interesting, super unique politician with a lot, I think, a lot to teach, people from our generation about like the power of the presidency and the power of a politician and how not to necessarily support. I mean, like, look, dude, if Biden had done half the shit LBJ did as far as social policy, I would double fucking bus people to vote for him. Okay.
Yeah, obviously, I think even factoring in the debacle of Vietnam, I'd rather have fucking LBJ as president than either of these guys.
I mean,
LBJ was willing to walk away, and Biden is one of those people that just clings to his power.
But the other thing is too. I wonder who do you feel? I don't really feel like either of these guys is particularly similar to LBJ. I mean, I've been able to find a few superficial similarities, but like, who do you feel he's more like of the two guys that are running now?
Biden.
Between Trump or Biden?
Biden.
Yeah,
I mean,
Biden
like,
too.
Biden came from a pretty affluent but working class family, and
they were both elected young, both lifelong senators. Both focused way more on social policy.
Very Machiavellian, very manipulative, not so much like super bright, but bright enough where like they can use their skills to get what they want.
But both found their way to the presidency by being the kind of consolation VP pick for a bright young candidate that wasn't sellable everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, if you listen to what people say about Biden back in the day, he was known for that kind of same very glad handy, kind of close, brash kind of Senate.
And he also has that sort of like take him behind the woodshed kind of mentality sometimes. But I never heard stories of Biden the way I've heard about LBJ.
No,
like really intimidating.
And Biden accomplished like if you look at
he did beat Corn Pop's ass
first presidency and Biden's first term, it's fucking incompetent.
I mean, LBJ accomplished more in the last, in that year than.
You have to recall the story of Corn Pop. He was a bad dude, and Biden did fucking deal with him. So I mean, Biden, maybe Biden could get a little rough. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, he fucking, how you used to.
Not now. I mean, he couldn't do shit now. He's just,
you put
your
switchblade in the rain barrel to get rust on it to make it more intimidating.
Yeah, so I'm saying like there's at least
part of that mentality. See that, we make fun of that Corn Pop story, but that's Biden's mentality. That's Biden's insistence on, instead of using his immense powers to settle things in Ukraine, one way or the other, I don't care if somebody gets some land or doesn't, right? Just use the US's fucking ability to really jerk that chain. Instead of doing that, he fed the fires of that conflict. Now 500,000 people are gone off the earth, right? In Israel, I've been told a number of times that the numbers when they are finally fucking settled on are going to be staggering. We're talking about maybe another 200,000, 300,000 people, another 150,000 dead in Afghanistan after our withdrawal. And that's a low number, probably closer to 300,000 or 400,000 people dead from primary and secondary causes after that. Right. Yeah. So Biden's got easily right there, and that's not talking about our other incursions around the world and economic policy and climate policy, which kills an equal amount of people. Biden's got conservatively a couple million people on his fucking docket already, who directly are dead from his policies, right? So you can compare him to LBJ on that, and he's beating LBJ. 2 million people didn't die in fucking Vietnam, bro. So, I mean, maybe at the end of it, all over Southeast Asia, every death was
Cambodia,
it might be 2 million.
Yeah,
but fucking hey, bro, that's a pretty high bar to beat, and the fact that Biden beat it so casually and so easily
too. I mean, like LBJ was like, I mean, look at the guy looking like presidency. The guy fucking went gray. He was having fucking coronaries. Like he went under this massive level of stress. And Joe Biden. Say what you want about the guy. He trots out there like, I want my ice cream. Like, he ain't bothered a fucking bit.
Yep.
And he's not getting the heat. He's actually getting praise. So, I mean, he's got a way fucking better than LBJ.
So anyway, and then the way that the left reacted to LBJ, shaming him and refusing to even support him to the point where he just knew better than to even try, and he stepped down. I mean, that is unprecedented in comparison to what you see today which is a lot of people that claim to be radical supporting voting for Joe while he's massacring people all over the planet. That's not how the left used to
and
get
desperately
down.
and unpopularly clinging to power. Like, there's not like if Joe was running and like his popularity was through the roof, I'd be like, well, that makes sense. He's fucking popular, but he's super unpopular.
It's in the toilet, and he's just obstinately clinging to power when the best thing for his party would be for him to hand over the keys to a younger and more electable candidate immediately.
Yes, 100%.
But anyway, I don't want to belabor that point. LBJ, interesting guy. Let me know what you thought about it. Thank you for being patrons. See you next time with another one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.